So today we are going to do the rest of the chapter which is left, and then we'll try to complete this chapter today because nothing is like any important thing is not left. Still, two, three tiny topics and some questions we will discuss from this chapter. All right. So students, yesterday we have done latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization. Today we will see more about it, like the effects which work or the effects which matters in this fusion and vaporization. Today we will see that one. Okay. So first thing first, what do we understand by latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization? Anybody remembers the definition? If so, just let me know the definition first. This definition is very important in terms of like exams, in terms of reasoning questions, they can ask you. So anybody likes to give the answer? Latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization. Six participants today. All right. So what do you mean by fusion, students? What is fusion? Anybody? Fusion is the process in which we convert solid into liquid, right? All right. Mhm. So this we have done yesterday. We have seen this experiment. Okay, we will do it this again. So this is a beaker in which we have taken some ice cubes and there is a burner under it. And now we are going to suspend a thermometer in it. We have done so. Now we are going to note the temperature of ice, which was 0 degrees Celsius, because we already know that ice fusion, freezing point of ice is 0 degrees Celsius. So when we have a burner, but we haven't, we are not providing any heat to this beaker, and beaker has some crushed ice. So before providing the heat, we have seen that it's a 0 degrees Celsius freezing point of ice. Now heat the ice gently by using a small flame of the burner. Now we are heating it. As long as there remains even a little bit of ice in the beaker, there is no rise in temperature during the melting of ice. Okay, so which heat is there which helps in melting the ice? What is that hidden heat which is melting the ice present? Hmm, it's latent heat, correct. So the latent heat is the heat which which can melt up the 1 kg of solid ice into liquid, but at constant temperature. Okay, remember that. The heat which is going into ice, but but not increasing its temperature is the energy required to change the state of ice from solid to liquid water. This is known as the latent heat of fusion of ice. Now, sometimes the question they can ask you about this one, why does ice is more is has a more energy to convert the liquid into cooler form, but not the cooling water is sufficient. Like if suppose we have ice and we have the cooling water, both have the same temperature. But when we want to freeze something or we want to cool down something, we usually opt for ice and not the ice cold water. Why is that so? Why is that solid piece of ice is more cooler than the water which is at the same temperature? Can anybody tell me? Why do we opt for ice and not the cooled water to cool out something? Like for in the case of refrigerator, no, in the back days we don't have refrigerators. What does the people do? They used to have a huge bowl and they used to put the cold water inside it, and used to put all the milk containers or the things which we used to keep in the refrigerator now. But it is not that much sufficient. But still we are using it. And then now refrigerator is kind of substitute of that one, which we use in earlier times. Why is that so? Why we use like ice in a solid form to cool out something and not the cooling water? It contains more cool particles, correct? Correct. It is also, the reason is same, student, latent heat of fusion, because ice has more latent heat of fusion. That is why. It has condensed particles which has the energy to cool down the particles of like which we want to cool them. Okay? Because it has more latent heat of fusion. So these type of questions can be asked regarding latent heat of fusion. There will be very little chances that they are going to ask direct question like tell us a definition of latent heat of fusion. Okay. So if you want to like remember something, try to make a reference point. Like, try to think about it. Think about the practical experiments which can be done according to that, like related to that definition. All right. So next is now latent heat of, okay, there is something more. This latent heat of fusion or melting of a solid is the quantity of a heat in joules required to convert 1 kg of the solid at its melting point to liquid without any change in temperature. This is the definition which we have done yesterday. Any doubt, students? Many a times students have some doubts regarding this. So if you want to ask, then you can ask. No. Okay. So the latent heat of fusion of ice is this joules, like this is the heat or the energy which is present, latent heat of fusion energy of an ice per kilogram. Energy we used to, like we used to have as a unit of energy as a joule. Okay. This heat energy is used up in changing the state of the solid substance by overcoming the force of attraction between its particles. So this is the definition. Practically, we also have observed now sometimes when we like forget to put the ice tray inside the refrigerator, and what does happen? Like what happened to the ice? It melts, no? We are not providing any external temperature. Still, it's melting, right? So that ice which is converting into liquid at the constant temperature is known as latent heat of fusion. That hidden heat which is making the ice to convert into liquid, that is latent heat of fusion. Okay, so this is a practical observation on this latent heat of fusion. Okay. This one, ice at 0 degrees Celsius is more effective in cooling a substance than water at 0 degrees Celsius. This, I asked, no, this question. This question is important, student. You can write this down. This is important. This can be asked under latent heat of fusion, that why ice at 0 degrees Celsius is more effective or is being opted more instead of the water at 0 degrees Celsius. So as we have explained, for melting each kilogram of ice, it takes latent heat of this much joules from the substance and hence cools the substance more effectively. Or you just can add on latent heat of fusion is like is more like the latent heat of energy or the fusion energy is more in the ice, which is more sufficient or effective to cool down the substance rather than the water at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. A piece of ice held in our hand feels very cold. It takes latent heat required for melting from our hand. Our hand loses heat of ice, making us feel cold. Now, this paragraph you understand, students, the last one. From where does the ice is taking the latent heat to convert into the liquid? You getting this point? What is the relation between hand and the ice here? Any tiny minute doubt you can ask, students. So it is saying that when we put the ice on our palms, no, so the ice gets like ice converted into liquid. Where does the heat is coming, which is converting the ice into liquid? That is the latent heat, which is being given by or given from the palms of our hand to the ice to convert the ice into liquid. So that is also the hidden heat. We are not providing any external heat, no? All right. Now, latent heat of vaporization. Now, there are certain questions which can be asked from vaporization as well. We are going to discuss them today, or some effects also. So, we have a beaker, we have the water in it. Take some water in a beaker. And now we are going to suspend the thermometer, same as we have done it before. Now, we are going to heat this water by using a burner. Note the temperature after every minute. All right, so now, okay, we are having a stirrer and we are going to stir this up. As the temperature rises gradually until 100 degrees Celsius is reached, at 100 degrees Celsius, water boils and start changing into steam or gas. Okay, this is clear, no? As the heat supply is continued, now this from here it becomes important, like in terms of questions it is going to be important in terms of question. As the heat supply is continued, there is no rise in temperature during the boiling of water. The thermometer reading remains at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, still at 100 degrees Celsius, water is keeping boiling, like water is keep on boiling, because boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. Now, the particles of water attract to one another with certain forces. These forces of attraction hold the water particles together in the liquid state. Now, we have to study know that liquid has so much, like there is optimum amount of space between the particles and they can move freely. But in the case of boiling, students, when we boil up the liquid, their particles get attached to one another. Okay, they have a strong force of attraction between them. Now, more energy, no more heat is required to break that energy, like break that force of attraction. Right, students? Which is there in the boiling liquid. Agree or disagree? We need na more energy to break that force of attraction between the boiling particles of the liquid. Right or wrong? At least say yes or no, students, so that I can think that you are not taking this class as boring. Nobody wants to say anything. What is this full stop means, Pranay? Okay. So yes, we required, like we need to have more energy to break down the particles of the like boiling liquid. Okay. Now, the heat supplied to water during boiling is used to overcome the force of attraction between the water particles so that they become free and change into gas. Okay? The heat is being supplied to break down that force of attraction bond so that the liquid can convert into gas particles, which are more free, so that they can move more vigorously. This latent heat does not increase the kinetic energy of water particles and hence no rise in temperature takes place. So this energy which we are like which the heat is being provided, like the when we have boiled up the water and the particles keep on boiling, at that point the particles have more strong, like there is a strong force of attraction between them. Now that energy which is being provided to break that bonds so that they can convert into gas particles, this is the latent heat of vaporization, which does not increase, like it remain at the constant temperature, which is 100 degrees Celsius. And that is why you can't see there is like no rise in temperature takes place. Now, one factor or one question can be asked at this a certain paragraph. Okay, there must be a question. These force of attraction hold the water particles together in liquid state. We have done this one. Okay, so there is a definition. I will ask you one question regarding this latent heat of vaporization. Very interesting question is there after this one. So this definition we have done yesterday, that latent heat of vaporization of a liquid is the quantity of heat in joules required to convert the 1 kilogram of the liquid at its boiling point to its vapor or gas without any change in temperature. So we are converting liquid to gas without any change in temperature at its boiling point. Remember that. This is known as latent heat of vaporization. Anybody, any doubt till here? Because there is a question like we have studied in the last latent heat of fusion, why ice is more effective than the cooling water. Okay. So latent heat of vaporization. Anybody wants to explain it on my behalf? As Pranit is asking a question here. So if anybody wants to explain it again. No one? So it seems that no one understood this one. See, latent heat, first we will understand what is latent heat. What is latent heat? It is the minimum amount of energy which is required to convert any state, okay, any state which is in the lower form of state to the higher form of state. Okay, this is also known as specific heat or the latent heat. Understanding my point? So latent heat is that minimum amount of heat which is required to convert the state from one to another state. Okay, so now latent heat of vaporization says that when we required or the amount of heat which is required to convert the liquid into gas at a constant temperature or at its boiling point. This is known as latent heat of vaporization. In this latent heat of vaporization, we are actually doing what? We are breaking the bonds of the liquid particles which are at the which are boiling. And at that point of time, those particles have more force of attraction between them. So we are breaking that force of attraction to change them into gas particles, but remaining at the constant temperature, which is 100 degrees Celsius. This is known as latent heat of vaporization. Now you got it, Pranit? You want to ask something else? I want all the students which like joined today, and we have explained about, like I have explained about latent heat of fusion and latent heat of vaporization. I just want you all to at least write yes or no, we understood, or any doubt you want to explain me further. Just write it down, no? So that I also know that you people are studying and you don't have any doubt and you are enjoying maybe the class. Is it boring, students? Is the class boring? It sometimes get bored because there is no animation, no, in the slide. So it doesn't go as like it's a picture, it's a theory. Okay. Thank you, Abhay, for stating that. Okay. So one question we have done in the latent heat of fusion, that why does the ice is more effective than the cooling water? Now there is one more question regarding latent heat of vaporization, is that why the burns which we get from the steam is is more dangerous than the boiling water? Can you explain me this? They are more severe. Burn from the steam are more severe rather than the burn from the boiling water. Anybody likes to explain me this point where you can mention latent heat of vaporization? Come on, students. They trap more heat in them. But why so, Abhay? Why do they need, like, why there is a requirement of trapping more heat? You are close, Abhay. Everybody agree? with Abhay. He has written that they trap more heat in them. Try to think. I am asking, why does this steam is more severe or more dangerous than the liquid at the same temperature? Because I already told you, na, students, then when the liquid is being converting into steam, it required more energy to break the bonds. Now think, when the liquid is converting into the steam, it is required more energy to break down that bond. Now think how much energy does the steam has. That energy is more than the boiling water, no? Which is being required to convert the liquid into gas, which is latent heat of vaporization, obviously. So that steam is carrying huge amount of energy, students. That is why the burns which you get from steam are more severe than the boiling water. Getting my point? Everybody?
Yes,
This
ma'am.
okay. Thank you, Lavanya. Okay, so we will try to see this question. There is a question. Okay, Pranit. Okay, Ami. Okay. I think we have a question. And the latent heat of vaporization of water is 22.5 into times 10 to the power 5 joules per kilogram. Now, this is the energy which is present in the steam, mind it, which is more. Okay? That is why the steam is more severe than the boiling water. We must have that question here. This we have already done. Yeah, this one. You can see the burns caused by steam are much more severe than those caused by boiling water. You can write this question. This question is extremely important. It can come as it is. Why does the burns caused by steam are much more severe than those caused by boiling water? Both of them are 100 degrees Celsius. When water changes into steam, it absorbs latent heat. Steam contains more heat in the form of latent heat than boiling water. So this is the reason why the burns from this one steam is more severe. Everybody, I want you to write this explanation in your notes book and tell me when you have done.
Ma'am, this question is written in my book.
Same
With
question, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So this
Steam
question is
produces
important.
more burns than boiling water. Testing.
Now you got it? The reason you know now? Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So same question they can ask for latent heat of fusion as well. Why ice is more effective than the water at the same temperature, like 0 degrees Celsius? So you know the answer because it has more latent heat of fusion in them. Okay, Mehak. Okay, so I'm moving further. Now here, our latent heat of fusion and vaporization is completed, students. Still, if you find some more questions regarding it, they are most welcome. Okay, all the questions you can ask them. Okay, so now very tiny topics are left over. Effect of pressure on change of state, which we have seen yesterday. Still, we are going to see it again since we are completing this chapter. So the phase or state of matter can change when the pressure changes. I have already told you there are two factors which are responsible to convert one state to the other state. One is pressure and the second one is anyone?
Heat.
Heat
Temperature.
or temperature. Correct. And pressure is directly proportional or inversely proportional to temperature. Like if we increase the temperature, pressure also increases. Huh?
It is indirectly.
Yes, inversely or indirectly proportional. Thank you, Pranit. All right. So gas can be liquefied by applying pressure and lowering the temperature. So similar thing, when we are converting solid to liquid, we are providing high temperature. So when we have to liquefy the gas to compress it down and to put inside or to immerse like when okay, I'll give you one practical example. Like when we filled the gas inside the cylinders, you know, we are compressing it. So we will put more pressure, is it? And lower down the temperature. Is it correct to say that we have to put more pressure to compress the gas inside the cylinders and
No,
lower
ma'am.
down the temp? No? No or yes?
No.
No? Okay. Anybody, anything like they agree with Pranit? Are we not going to compress it more, Pranit? Are we not going to
Yes,
put more?
ma'am.
Yes, we
Ma'am,
will put pressure, no? Yeah, you can ask Pranit. You want to ask something? You're saying something, Pranit. Okay. No. No about what? Are you disagreeing or you are agreeing with this point? Okay. So we are taking it as that you are disagreeing with your point and agreeing with us. All right. So gas can be liquefied applying pressure and lowering down the temperature. What does liquefied mean, students? What do you mean by liquefied? Huh? Liquefied. We are converting liquid to gas or gas to liquid in this one.
Liquid to gas.
Liquid to gas. Okay.
Ma'am, gas to liquid.
Correct. Gas to liquid. No, Abhay also correct. And Lavanya also correct. So liquid to gas, oh, Om has given, no? Who has stated liquid to gas? Yeah, Om only. So for a liquid to gas, we need to increase the temperature, right? And when we are increasing the temperature, we are lowering the pressure, correct? Now here you can see in the statement, gas can be liquefied by applying pressure and lowering the temperature. You can see we are going reverse. We are going back. We are converting gas to liquid. That is liquefaction. Okay, Om? I hope you don't have any doubt in this one. All right. So now there is a cylinder, there is a piston, now gas particles. Now piston is what, student? Piston is what? Do you have any idea, students? Piston is a kind of tool, you know, which is required to pump the gas or compress the gas particles inside the cylinder. To compress. Correct, Abhay. Okay, so piston is there, cylinder is there, and the gas particles is there on the screen. There is a lot of space between the particles of gas. Yes, we can see that. Piston pushed and pressure applied. You can see now gas particles get closer. You can see this is the process in which liquefaction is done. Okay, we are just taking the high level state to the lowering state. That is liquefaction. High state was gas. Now we are going to turn it to the lower state. Now particles are coming close together. We are converting that state. While applying pressure to liquefy gases, it is necessary to cool them to take away the heat produced during compression. Because we have to make the particles come close together, right? In terms of liquefaction. If enough force is applied to the piston, the gas is highly compressed. Okay, so pressure is more here and we are lowering down the temperature. Remember that. Okay. The particles of gas get so close together that they start attracting each other sufficiently to form liquid. Okay, this is a process in liquefaction. So, I hope you got it right, students. gas to liquid, we are compressing, we are giving more pressure, and we are lowering down the temperature. Whenever we say high, like we are increasing the pressure, always you have to mention that when we are increasing the pressure, we are lowering the temperature. Okay, so applying the pressure and reducing the temperature can liquefy gases. You can write this point down. They both work opposite to each other. Just remember that. Example, carbon dioxide. Yes, there is very common example of this carbon dioxide. If you know, you must have learned this in your textbook already, but still I'm asking because we are doing it now. It's like turning nitrogen to, correct, turning nitrogen to liquid nitrogen. And where does we use this liquid nitrogen? Abhi, like nitrogen uses are many. The nitrogen gas is the gas which is being compressed in your edible packet, students, which you eat, no? The wafers and all this stuff. Nitrogen is being compressed to keep it fresh. Right? And what about the carbon dioxide? Is it around us? Like, obviously it is around us in the form of what? Gas, yeah. So can we liquefy this gas? And we get what, students? Now, all the artificial gases you can see in the ice cream parlors, right? They are used to, like, it's become a fashion now. When they used to serve the ice cream, there are there is gases in the tub full of ice cream. Where does this gas coming from? What is that gas, students? Yes. What is that gas called? Is it a dry ice? Have you heard about dry ice, students? Yes, dry ice. Dry ice is the form of it is used in functions, yes. But what is this form? Like by compressing of CO2, correct. Okay, let us see. So dry ice is also one of the question which can come from this chapter, students, okay? So we are basically liquefying, remember that, the term. Okay. On applying pressure and decreasing temperature, carbon dioxide solidifies, right? They are stored under high pressure. Solid carbon dioxide gets converted directly to gaseous state on decrease of pressure of 1 atmospheric pressure without coming into liquid state, right? We can convert the solid carbon dioxide into gaseous state by decreasing the pressure to 1 atmospheric pressure. Okay. Now, every time we used to see 1 atmospheric pressure, it's a relative point. Okay. That 1 atmospheric pressure, we use it so that we can relate the pressure around the surroundings. Okay, around a certain material. So we always tend to relate the pressure with the 1 atmospheric pressure. Remember that. Same we do in the elements. When we study about periodic classification, we always take carbon as a relative element to know the mass of other. Similarly, here also, when we are measuring the pressure, we always take 1 atmospheric pressure as a relative point. All right, students. So solid carbon dioxide gets converted directly into gaseous state on decrease of pressure to 1 atmospheric pressure without coming into liquid state. Got it? Everyone? One question is there. It was regarding the... Okay. Yes. So sometimes students have some doubts regarding why what 1 atmosphere pressure is doing here. What is the purpose? So it is present here just to relate it. Okay, we are like lowering down the pressure up to 1 atmospheric pressure. Just for that, we are using 1 atmospheric pressure. Hence, solid carbon dioxide are known as dry ice. So one question was there. Yeah. Okay, this one. One question I will ask you. What is dry ice and why is it stored under high pressure? This is a direct question which has been asked. Anybody likes to give the answer? This one. What is dry ice? Should I write this question? Okay, I'm writing it. So students, you might have this question in your textbook. Is it in your textbook or no? If you know the answer, we'll skip this one. If you don't know, I'm going to write the answer. Just tell me first if you want me to write. What is dry ice? And the next question is, why is it stored under high pressure? Okay, Mehak. So the question is this one, what is dry ice and why is it stored? Correct, 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 Abhay, and correct, Om. Correct. So we are just going to write it in the statement form. You just, if you want to write it down, you can write it. So from the next class, hopefully we are going to start with, is matter around us pure? Okay, we are going to complete this chapter. Still, if you want to ask some question which are in your textbook and you don't know what are the answers, you are most welcome to come with the questions and come with your doubts. Okay, so here I'm writing the answer. Solid carbon dioxide also known as dry ice, because it directly converts to carbon dioxide gas when the pressure is decreased. Okay, at room temperature.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Lavanya, want to say something? If you are saying something, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Tell me.
Can you tell me the answer?
Hmm?
Ma'am, the question is water at room temperature is a liquid. Give
Hmm.
reason.
Water at room temperature is liquid. Oh, is it the question? Is this the question, Lavanya? That's it? No, nothing atmospheric pressure is given to you and nothing external temperature is given to you in the question? Okay, so that's a complete question. Okay. After this, doing this, we are going to discuss that question. Let me complete this. It is fluid in nature. Okay. Let the discussions be there in the chat box and we will discuss it after this, after I'm completed, like after I complete this answer. You can keep on writing the answer, students. What do you think about it? At room temperature. Have we done up till here? Shall I erase this up because I have to write it? Okay. I'm asked questions. Okay, Fozan, you're writing. Ask questions for about what? First, tell me, students, if you have completed up till here, I'm going to erase this up because. Completed? Okay, thank you, Mehak. I'm going to erase this up. At room temperature. CO2 is a gas, so it requires very low temperature and high pressure. So this question will cover up all the liquefaction and the question which is related to dry ice. Okay, this can come in the huge long answer question. These particles get closer together and eventually turn into dry ice. Okay, so let me see the chat box now. What you guys have given. Because there is no external pressure on it, so it will be liquid only. Okay. About this chapter. Okay, oh, my last questions. Because there is no external pressure on it, so it will be liquid only. You guys are close. Anybody else? Liquid because it is fluid in nature. Because okay, that is what Lavanya is asking, that how come liquid is fluid in nature? Everybody knows that water is a molecule, right? It is made up of two gases, right? What are they? Two gases which makes up the water? Like
Hydrogen and
hydrogen and
oxygen.
correct. So, like Abhay has said that no external pressure is there, so it will be liquid. That is also correct. Very close, that there is no external pressure on it, so it will be liquid only. So water is it liquid in nature because of these two elements? Okay, which when form a bond, that bond at room temperature, when hydrogen and oxygen will form, it will turn them into liquid only. Okay, they are forming a type of bond which is highly electronegative or their bond is so stable, and that bond convert them both of the gases into liquid form at nature, in the nature. Got it? Because of the bond they are sharing, hydrogen and oxygen at room temperature. No external pressure. That is also correct. Got it, Lavanya? Lavanya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you got it? Why does the water is in liquid form?
Yes, ma'am.
Because these two gases are, or these elements, when combine at the room temperature, they form a bond, and that bond leads them to be in liquid at room temperature. Condition is that no pressure is there, no external temperature is there, at room temperature only. Okay, so everybody have written like this done about the dry ice thing. Just let me know done, 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 done. Okay, done. All right, so we are going further. Oh, we have to erase this. Hmm. All right, sublimation, solid directly turning into gases. Okay, we already have studied this one. A change of state directly from solid to gas without changing into liquid state or vice versa is called sublimation. Actually, here it is like there is some mistake is there. It is not vice versa because you know how do we like how we convert liquid to gas? What is that process called, student? Example is naphthalene balls, correct. But you remember in that diagram I have made you, like I have made the correction there. Solid turning into gas is sublimation, but gas turning to solid is what? Anybody?
Deposition.
Correct, Om. Thank you for answering. All right. So examples of sublimated substance, one you have already given, ammonium chloride. Okay, so anthracene, these are all the compounds which you can see in the chemistry lab. One common example which has been given in the chat box is right, which is given by Fozan, sorry, naphthalene balls. Correct. Camphor. Camphor is also a example which you can see day to day. Carbon dioxide. Dry ice, yes, it can be. Yeah, see, you can see here. Iodine. Okay. So all these, like these examples you can see in the chemistry lab. If have you ever seen iodine as a sublimation product? Iodine is which one, student? Is it a salt? Iodine? Anybody? Anyone? Not understand the question. I am asking, have you ever seen this iodine in the daily basis, which has been converted from solid to gases? Day-to-day example. And I'm all okay. Let me see what you are saying. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. Okay. Next one. Okay. Blue ink. Okay. No, no, no. This is not that one. I got it. Where are you going, Alina? It's not that solution. It's not that one. It's a salt one. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this one, you know, students, Odonil and all this stuff we use like a room freshener. These all comes under sublimation. You remember Odonil, student? In India, it is quite famous. Yes. So it is also an example of sublimation. Correct. Naphthalene balls are kept in toilets. What's the reason? Naphthalene balls are sublimatory substance, so it changes to gaseous state and spread its fragrance throughout the washroom, giving a pleasant aroma. Okay, these tiny bit questions can be asked. They are scented ball. Yeah. So scented spelling is SCENT. Okay, scented. C comes in between. Okay, so sublimation. Now we have some, okay. There is an experiment going on. We have a powdered ammonium chloride on the china dish. It's like a plate which is called as china dish in the labs. Now we are like put the funnel inverted, like upside down. Okay, just to see. Now cotton is being inserted inside the funnel. They are also kept to keep away. Yes, that one only, Alina.
Ma'am, I have done this activity in the classroom.
Okay, so what was your observation, Lavanya? What would happen like after?
Ma'am, there will be some gas that will present inside the funnel.
Okay. Does
And
that
if
gas have
we-
any scent or fragrance? Does it like any odor?
Ma'am, I don't remember that because
Oh.
this activity has done in starting of the class.
Okay. Okay. Yes, yes. She is absolutely correct. There will be like they are going to be form gases, like they are going to convert from solid to gases. So this, why does this cotton plug is here? To prevent the ammonium chloride vapors from escaping into the atmosphere, we are blocking it, okay, through this cotton plug. Now, next we are going to see what? Actually, ammonium chloride has a pungent smell, okay, very bad smell. Ammonium chloride vapors, powdered ammonium chloride, where you can see ammonia, ammonia has a pungent smell. Remember that. Ammonium chloride collects on the inner side of the funnel in the form of sublimate and can be removed. In this, like you can see this, at this place, you can see some ammonium chloride which get collected on the inner sides of the funnel, which prove that this ammonium chloride, which was in the powder form, turn into vapors. All right. So this is the experiment for the sublimation. Evaporation. So since we have already completed about the evaporation, student, that is already we have completed, we have seen the factors also. Still we are going to revise it further because there are certain practical usage of evaporation on which the question can be asked. So evaporation is a process by which a liquid gets converted into gaseous forms at any temperature below its boiling point. We have written this definition yesterday only. Liquid vapor we have, even at room temperature and normal air pressure, evaporation can be seen. Process of evaporation, we have this with us. High energy molecules or low energy molecules. Molecules at the surface absorb heat energy from the room temperature. Now, since we already know that evaporation is a surface process. So from the liquid particles which are present at the surface of the liquid get evaporated faster, right? So molecules at the surface absorb the heat energy from the room temperature and they will turn into vapors. Why does the particles are absorbing the heat energy here, students? What is the need of absorbing the heat energy from the atmosphere? Why are they absorbing the heat, students? Can you tell me? Because on this point now we have tons of question. Yesterday only we have studied, no, why we used to wear, why we wear cotton clothes in summers. Where does the sweat goes?
It evaporates.
Huh. So how? Where does this heat energy is being used? See, heat energy is present in the atmosphere. Agree? Now that heat energy is absorbed by the particles present on the surface. Now what they will do, if they got heat energy, they will just pop up, like they will go out, they will convert into vapors and they go out. They will say bye-bye to the rest of the water. Not understand this. Okay. So, okay, I'll tell you. This we are doing evaporation. Okay, evaporation is turning of liquid into vapors. All right, this you understand, Abhay? We are turning the liquid into vapors. Okay, we'll come back again to the evaporation definition first. Liquid get converted into gaseous form at any temperature, but it should be below its boiling point. Liquid should not be boiling. If it is boiling, evaporation will take place, but it very gradually, like negligible. It won't. So it is mentioned here Evaporation is a process by which liquid gets converted into gases formed at any temperature below its boiling point. Okay, now in this experiment or this picture you can see here, there is a tub, okay, filled with water. Now it says that on the upper side, like on the surface, particles have high energy molecules, like those particles have very high energy. And those particles which are beneath these surface particles have very low energy molecules. Why these particles which are present on the surface have the high energy? Because they are absorbing the energy which is already present in the environment. This is what I am trying to explain you. So whenever these surface particles absorb the heat energy which is already present in the atmosphere, they will take the energy, for suppose it is heat, or like at room temperature, there is some amount of heat already there. So when they absorb that heat energy, these surface particles will convert, no? When they have the external temperature, they will convert from liquid to gases and they will fly away in the sky. That is why the liquid part which is present on the surface has high energy. We will continue rest of the part in the next class. There is like one more class should be there for this chapter and we are done with this chapter. Okay, students. So we will meet in the next class. Keep coming more questions. If you have in your textbook which you don't understand any reasoning questions, we will answer them in the next class. Okay, students. Now you can leave the session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.